Hello and welcome to Connect. I'm your host, Randy Shabilo. On today's show, we'll have Josh Davidson talking about the Recreation and Tourism Management Program, as well as Deborah Hamp talking about the citywide food drive with the Saskatoon Food Bank and Learning Center. And as always, we'd like to connect with you.
Follow us on Facebook at Connect YXE. Catch past interviews on our YouTube channel, email us at connectyxe@gmail.com, or leave a message at 306-665-3796. Recreation and tourism in Saskatchewan is alive and well. We have the program head with us from Sask Polytechnique, Josh Davidson. He's going to shed some light on some of the training that goes on behind the scenes. A lot of things I haven't heard of before. Josh, thanks for coming into the studio.
Right on, Randy, and thanks for having me. Very fortunate to be a part of the School of Hospitality and Tourism at Saskatchewan Polytechnic. I'm one of 4 different programs. So there's Food and Nutrition Management, Hotel and Restaurant Management, Culinary Arts, and then the program that I specifically manage is the Recreation and Tourism Management Program.
This is new to me, just hearing about it, but it goes to show how much I don't know, because the program's been around for a little while. How long since it started and what's happening today?
Yeah, it's been around for over 50 years. We are the second oldest program at what we know now as Saskatchewan Polytechnic. We started out as what was known as Recreation Technology, which then became Recreation and Leisure, which became Recreation and Community Development, and now we are Recreation and Tourism Management.
So the program itself, obviously well-rooted in the province. We have a lot to showcase here. With the students that you have coming to you, what would their typical time frame be that they're engaged with you here in Saskatoon?
Yeah, and that's a good question. We're pretty flexible. We realize there's a lot of opportunity out there for people to learn in alternative methods, so we're exploring that as well. Currently, the standard learning timeline with us is 2 years, with there being a very kind of easy to access 3-year program as well. And we're all based here in Saskatoon, so you are obligated to spend time in Saskatoon to take this type of programming.
And that's done on campus on Ottawa Drive, and there's also some off-site learning at Wanuskewin.
Yeah, absolutely. So our campus that the primary programming takes place is the 33rd and Idlewild campus, but we do 1 day a week out at Wanuskewin Heritage Park, which is one of our learning and educating partners. And if you're not familiar with Wanuskewin Heritage Park, it is a UNESCO bid status park here in Saskatchewan, the first of its kind in our province, and it's a great place for our students to engage in all types of learning in and around our industry.
How would you begin, just in terms of the course, where would you start with a student would have to firstly have an interest in showcasing some of the work that we do here to attract and maintain? What type of, taproot would that student have to bring that spark to life to say, this is something I want to take schooling and training in?
Yeah, and that's a really big part of our job is getting the right student into our program, because it does take a student that's quite motivated and very interested in being active in making their communities stronger and building those communities up from a capacity standpoint. So we really look for students that are go-getters. You don't necessarily need to be a super high achiever as far as academics go, but if you're a self-starter, if you're somebody that learns from doing things and from becoming involved rather than studying things per se, I think this could be a very good fit for you. We've had quite good success with students from programming like EcoQuest within the school division or the outdoor school programming, or students that are quite sport-minded or recreation-minded.
I guess that's a good question just on the heels of the World Juniors application that Saskatoon and Regina have tag teamed on. We weren't that successful, I guess, because we didn't get the nod, but it does prove to the economic spin-off and the showcasing of areas where these events take place. Is sports tourism a hot topic, or is it a segment of what you teach.
Absolutely, yeah. We do have a focus of some sport tourism outcomes in our programming area. There's sport management classes, and then on top of that, we engage with Saskatchewan Parks and Recreation Association, as well as the various tourism associations, so somewhere like Tourism Saskatchewan, as well as Hospitality Saskatchewan. We're quite involved with them and their conferences, so the students, not only do they get to learn about that, we have them networked into the industry throughout the 2 years where they get to meet the players in the game that they're trying to enter.
So it's a competitive field in a sense that Saskatchewan, Saskatoon would be competing against Moncton and Halifax and other national and international cities. When you start to train, what do you tend to gravitate to make sure that the students leave Sask Polytechnique knowing a core set of values or items from the program itself?
Yeah, we have a code of conduct within the program, and we had industry support the development of that code of conduct so that it reflects what industry values and what type of expectations are out there. Then on top of that, for something like the World Juniors, when the bid process was up and we found out that they were applying, we made contact with the heads of Tourism Saskatoon and Tourism Regina and basically identifying, listen, if this goes ahead, we would love to support your guys' bid in getting our students some work integrated learning in the facilitation of a national, or in this case, an international event such as the World Juniors. So the big thing that we really try and do to differentiate ourselves from universities is we tie ourselves to industry. If there's something going on like Winter Shines or like a Sask Marathon or other events, we try and get involved to the best extent that we can, tying it to the outcomes of the classes so that the students see that, hey, this learning outcome in a financial management class, they can see it playing out in the hosting of the Grey Cup. Right.
Yeah, there's theory and then there's practical, so I'm pleased to hear that. Because we have so much to offer here, I think we short sell ourselves as Saskatoonians and from Saskatchewan. But when we see the classes themselves that are attracting, how many would typically graduate in a given year, in a normal year?
Yeah. In a normal year, we would have between 20 and 25 graduates. So we're quite a small program, and that from a student learning perspective has a real advantage that the students get a lot of face time with the instructors. There's more one-on-one time that you would get from being in a university setting. And it's really set up in a manner that the students have a lot of support, and they build a community, a sense of community within their own cohort as well, so that when they go out into the world, they have not only the industry that they've networked with, but they're also connected to their peers that are out in similar scenarios, and they can work with them as well.
When you have 20 or 30 graduates over the years, that has to bode well for the tourism industry. If we take and focus in Saskatchewan for a moment, if we look at some of the things happening with the cross-border traffic and restrictions, but I understand hunting and trapping and some of the sport fishing are big industries as well, along with other sports. Do you look internationally, or are you teaching things from a national perspective? Or how do you kind of focus on?
That's a good question, and we try and have a little bit of a mix. And the beautiful thing about the tourism side of the world is that a lot of what is taught in tourism, or what the common standards are in tourism, do go across the globe, and they aren't just isolated to here in Saskatchewan or in Canada. So we have a bit of a healthy mix that way, and we do encourage our students to seek practicum opportunities and work experience outside of this province and outside of this country. And it sets them up for success because it does give them that upper hand in having worked in different regions around the world.
What do you see changing over the years in terms of, I guess we have fuel costs that are going to start affecting things, and the US dollar and so on. But our items that we showcase in Saskatchewan really are the same. And I'm hearing and reading and experiencing that a lot of people want that pristine, natural beauty that we have that's untouched and uninhibited, if you will. Is that something that you teach them to sell, the students to sell, or is it something that you just say, here's what we have to offer?
Yeah, and that's a really interesting thing, because if we are pushing this pristine and untouched wilderness, if we push it too far, then we don't have that anymore, right? So that's some of the outcomes that we have focus on the sustainability aspect of it and understanding, okay, not every community is set up for tourism. Who wants tourism? And those that want tourism, how can we set it up so that the communities benefit from it? And it's not just a private company that takes over and takes away the profits out of that community. So I do see that as COVID is played out here, people are valuing our province way more. Locals, people that have never necessarily spent time going north, instead they would go west to go skiing, or they would go to the far south to go to Mexico. Well, now they're planning their holidays to go up to a place like Deschambault Lake or up to Elk Ridge, and places that maybe they've never been to before. And when they're getting there, their minds are, for lack of a better term, are slightly blown, because they're like, what? This place is amazing. And what a cool opportunity for us to explore our own backyard. So from a tourism perspective, the domestic tourism market in this province typically spends a substantial amount of money elsewhere. And over the last little while, that's been captured here in Saskatchewan. And I think moving forward, we're not going to always continue to capture all of that, because you will still have people that are going to go south of the border or head west or east, wherever they want to go. But I think that there's been enough of a mark made in people's minds that, you know what, sticking around Saskatchewan for your holidays is not a bad thing, and there is a lot of opportunity.
What would you say to someone watching the show that would maybe spark some interest in them and say, gosh, that sounds interesting, I think I might like to try that? How would they know that this is a right fit for them?
Well, from a fit perspective, if it's something that you're interested in, if you like to be challenged, if you like to look at something and make the most of it, and if you have the ability to take something and capitalize on it, I think this is a very good program. If that gets you excited of making a change in your community, if that gets you excited, I think this is a program that you should look a little bit further into and consider applying to. The other side of that, and looking from an industry perspective, never in the history of the tourism industry in this country has there been such a deficit or shortfall on the number of trained or qualified individuals to work in the recreation or tourism industries. Over the last few years, COVID has either pushed people to leave the industry to seek alternative employment or to retire, right? And that has left, whether we're looking at the 5 different sectors within the tourism industry, or we're talking specifically about our area, which is the recreation and entertainment side, it has left a huge hole where many tourism stakeholders and operators can't open their doors or offer to the full extent because they don't have enough people. This wasn't an issue when I was a student in the program, and looking at it now, how exciting is that? If you're a student of this program, there's so much opportunity for advancement or just opportunity to get your foot into the door of an area of the industry that in the past people typically didn't leave.
I think we're on the cusp of something big, and I want to thank you and Sask Polytechnic for the work that you're doing to make sure that we keep that momentum going. And Josh Davidson with us. We'll be right back after this break.